And joining me to discuss this is an African affairs analyst, Oluwaseyi Adeyemo. Good to have you join us this hour. Now, there seems to be crisis in the Tigray region of Ethiopia, but there's also crisis in the Oromia region as well. What do you make of all of this brewing crisis in Ethiopia?
It's interesting, particularly because at this particular crisis, you have the elites. I mean, unusually, this is the case in this particular case, because normally you will have the people clamoring for this. Now, the Tigray crisis has an historical thing with Ethiopia. It's been there since 1889, when there was an emperor and Tigray was sort of kind of ostracized. But beyond that, there have been all sorts of clamors since then. And the lesson for me, for Africa, is that if we do not deal with ourselves with fairness, we will burn certain things that we cannot take care of at the end of the day. So this happened a long time ago, and all sorts of things that happened. You've had a lot of Tigray people come into government. They've become very powerful. The guy who's leading this campaign, for instance, was the information minister. But because they've gotten used to this power, and they now believe that they have a right to have a regional control of their own wealth, of their own people and all of that, it's become so difficult to sort of, for me, put them in check. And that is why whatever we do in Africa, we must always think of fairness so that we do not back something that we cannot control.
So there are calls for dialogue, especially by the African Union. And many people say that, look, without the unconditional release of political prisoners, that the conversations are a non-starter.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, because, I mean, that's not the way to go. If you want to negotiate, then you should not have people detained. It's not a way to go. If you really want a fair deal, so they are afraid now that Addis might clamp down on them, might not allow them to have election, might sort of stir up a lot of security issue, but they are not being fair as well. Like I said, this particular issue is more of the end. It's really not, because if you really look at the pulse of Ethiopians right now, I mean, I'm talking about the Tigray, they are not in support of this rushing into election, if you have me use that word, because at the end of the day, there was an agreement that until COVID-19 is put on the check, there won't be an election. It was an agreement that they had before. But for whatever reason, they decided that they're going to go ahead with the election, not minding the fact that the COVID-19 has not been put to check.
African Affairs Analyst Oluwaseyi Adeyemo, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.